The night I caught my husband cheating with my little sister, he looked me dead in the eye and said, "You're overreacting, Julia. It's not what it looks like." Which was funny because what it looked like was my husband, shirtless, in my sister's bed. Before I tell you how my own family tried to make me feel crazy for refusing to accept that, please take a second to like, share, and subscribe. You'd be surprised how many people are living a quieter version of this story, and your support might be the thing that helps them realize they're not alone. My name is Julia. I'm 34 years old, and I used to believe in two big lies: that blood is automatically loyal, and that love is automatically enough. What happened with my sister and my husband ripped both of those beliefs up by the roots. I grew up in Jacksonville, Florida, in one of those slightly worn-out suburbs where every house looks the same from the outside, but inside, everyone has their own strange little ecosystem of secrets. My parents aren't monsters. That's the worst part. They're regular people with regular flaws who always said the same things every time we argued growing up. Friends come and go, but family is forever. Your sister is your best friend, whether you realize it now or not. One day, you two will only have each other. They said it like a promise. Turns out, it was more of a warning. My little sister, Emily, is 3 years younger than me. If you looked at us side by side, you wouldn't automatically guess we were related. I got Dad's darker hair and quieter personality. Emily got Mom's soft blonde waves and her talent for turning every room into a stage. In school, I was the girl teachers loved. Organized, reliable, always with a backup pen. Emily was the girl everyone else loved. Bubbly, flirty, always with a story that made people laugh. I wasn't jealous, not exactly. I was proud of her, protective of her. I was the one who picked her up from parties when she cried because some boy didn't text back. I was the one who covered for her when she missed curfew. I was the one who packed both our lunches because she'd forget and then act surprised, like the sandwich fairy had blessed her again. Our parents used to joke that if you combined us, you'd get one perfect daughter. My brain, her charm. They thought it was funny. It planted a seed. I was the responsible one. She was the pretty one. And in our family, pretty stretched further than responsible every time. I met my husband, Carter, when I was 25. I was working as an office manager at a small marketing firm downtown, juggling schedules and budgets and everyone else's chaos. Carter was the new IT guy they brought in to deal with a server migration that was going badly. He had this calm, focused energy I wasn't used to. Everyone else in that office talked too much and listened too little. He was quiet, but when he spoke, it was thoughtful. And when he listened, he really listened. He was tall in a comforting way, not an intimidating way, with warm brown eyes that always looked like he was about to say something kind. The first time he fixed my computer, he left a sticky note on my monitor that said, "You were right. It wasn't user error. You're officially the exception." I found out later that he'd asked the receptionist what kind of tea I liked and started bringing a cup to my desk on the mornings he worked in our section. He learned my coffee order too. That was a whole thing in my family, someone remembering your specific drink. My mom always said, "If a man knows your coffee order by heart, don't let him go." I wish I could go back and tell her, sometimes he remembers your coffee order and still chooses your sister. We dated for 2 years before he proposed. It wasn't some elaborate Instagram proposal. He did it on my parents' back porch at sunset, the way he knew I loved. Simple, honest, intimate. A small velvet box, shaking hands, a stammered, "I want you to be my wife if you'll have me," and I cried so hard I barely managed to say yes. Emily squealed when she saw the ring. "Oh my God, Jules, you did it!" she shrieked, grabbing my hand. "You got the good one!" I laughed, because at the time, it felt true. Carter was steady. He didn't play mind games. He didn't disappear for days. He opened doors and fixed things before I even asked. Our wedding was a small beach ceremony. White dress, bare feet in the sand, string lights, my dad walking me down the aisle while my mom dabbed at her eyes. In every photo, Emily is right over my shoulder, smiling. I used to think of that as comforting. Now, those same photos make my stomach twist. The first couple of years, things were good. Not movie perfect, but solid. We bickered about stupid things, my habit of leaving half-empty water glasses around the house, his habit of letting laundry sit in the dryer until it wrinkled into some new permanent shape. But we laughed a lot. We had our little routines: Sunday morning pancakes, Tuesday night shows, Friday takeout. The trouble didn't start all at once. It slipped in slowly, like a draft under a door you don't notice until you're already shivering. Emily's life, on the other hand, stayed messy. She bounced from relationship to relationship, job to job, nail salon receptionist, bartender, retail associate. Everything was just until something better comes along. She'd crash with us after breakups, a few nights on the couch, then a week in the guest room, then suddenly her shoes were by the door and her mail started coming to our address temporarily. "Just until I get back on my feet," she'd say, looking at me with wide eyes. My mother would call and say, "You're so lucky you have space for her. This is what family is about." I never said no. Carter never complained. At first, I found their friendship reassuring. He and Emily would joke while cooking or team up to gang up on me playfully about my overuse of spreadsheets for everything. He would tell stories about his job. She would tell ridiculous stories from her bar shifts. Sometimes I'd come home and find them watching TV, laughing at something dumb. I didn't feel threatened. I felt grateful that the two people I loved most got along, that my life was a Venn diagram with a big overlap in the middle. But gradually, that overlap started to feel crowded. Emily started calling Carter for little things. "Can you look at my laptop? It's acting weird again. Can you help me move my dresser? You're stronger. Can you give me a ride? My car's being stupid." It felt like normal sibling in-law stuff. Until she stopped asking me first. Until she stopped involving me at all. I'd find texts on his phone like, "Hey, are you home? I'm bored. I'm coming over." Or, "You're the only one who actually listens to me." The first time I saw that one, my stomach pinched. I told myself it was just Emily being dramatic. Carter never hid his phone. He didn't change his passcode. He didn't act sneaky. If anything, he seemed almost aggressively normal. Then came the hoodie. One Saturday, I walked into the living room and found Emily curled up on the couch, wearing one of Carter's hoodies. It was his favorite gray one, the one he always wore when we had movie nights. She had the hood up, sleeves pulled over her hands, her legs tucked under her. Carter was in the armchair opposite, scrolling through his phone. They both looked up when I entered. "Is that your hoodie?" I asked, trying to keep my voice light. Carter shrugged. She was cold. Emily smiled, tugging the collar up to her nose. "It smells like him. It's cozy. Don't be weird, Jules." I laughed awkwardly, but something about the way she said it lingered in my head. It smells like him. Who says that about their brother-in-law's clothes? Who says it out loud? A week later, I came home from work and found her lying on the rug, her legs thrown across Carter's lap. They were watching some stupid reality show, both howling with laughter. His hand was resting on her calf. Casual, familiar, too familiar. I froze for half a second in the doorway. Emily spotted me first. "Jules, you're home early." She swung her legs off him and sat up in one fluid movement. It was 6:45 p.m. Not early, right on time. Carter jumped a little, smiled like nothing was wrong. "Hey, babe." He didn't look guilty. If anything, he looked confused that I seemed thrown. That night in bed, I tried to talk to him. "Do you think Emily's here a lot?" I asked, staring at the ceiling. He sighed. "She doesn't have anywhere else to go." "She does. She has mom and dads. She has friends. She has—" "Our place is closer to her job," he cut in. "And she gets along with us. Why is this suddenly a problem?" "I didn't say it was a problem," I said slowly. "I'm just noticing some boundaries getting blurry." "What boundaries?" he asked. "She's your sister." There it was again, that magic shield. Sister, family, as if that title made anything automatically safe. I let it drop. I didn't want to be the jealous wife, the paranoid one, the controlling sister. I convinced myself I was being dramatic. Looking back, I wish I had chosen dramatic. Because quiet was worse. Quiet meant I watched it happen in slow motion. One Tuesday, Carter texted me that he'd be working late. Server issues. Don't wait up. I believed him. Why wouldn't I? He'd worked late plenty of times before. It came with the job. I got home, kicked off my shoes, and went into the laundry room to throw in a load of clothes. Carter's work laptop was sitting on the shelf next to the detergent. I frowned. That machine was his lifeline to remote work. If he was at the office dealing with server issues, he'd have it with him. He always did. It's like showing up to surgery without your instruments. I picked it up. The little power light was off. No travel bag or cable nearby. I set it down again, heart hammering. I told myself there were a dozen explanations. Maybe he'd gone in to meet someone, and they were using a different device. Maybe he'd taken his personal laptop instead. Maybe he'd dropped it off to be repaired. My brain came up with excuses faster than my gut could swat them away. I didn't open it. I didn't start sleuthing through his files. Instead, I closed the laundry room door, leaned against it, and tried to breathe. A few minutes later, I heard the front door. "Emily." "Oh, hey," she called. "Why are you home already?" "Already?" I checked the time. It was almost 7. I always get home around now. She popped her head into the kitchen. "Right, duh. Sorry, I'm all over the place. Long day." She looked too happy for someone who'd had a long day. Lip gloss freshly applied, hair a little too perfect, wearing a floral dress I'd never seen before. "Where's Carter?" I asked, watching her face carefully. Her smile flickered for the tiniest fraction of a second. "Work," she said. "Where else?" I forced myself to nod. Right. Where else? The day everything blew up, I actually thought I was doing something nice. I'd had a brutal morning at work, and my afternoon client canceled, so my boss let me leave early. I stopped by Carter's favorite bakery and picked up a box of his favorite donuts, the maple ones with the bacon bits on top, thinking I'd surprise him at home before he left for his supposed late night. The house was quiet when I stepped inside, balancing my keys, my bag, and the pastry box. "Carter?" I called. No answer. "Emily?" Nothing. I shrugged out of my jacket, kicked off my shoes, and carried everything into the kitchen. Carter's car was in the driveway, so he had to be home. Maybe he was upstairs napping. He'd been complaining about being tired. I set the box on the counter and started toward the stairs. That's when I heard it. Not moaning, not obvious sex sounds. Honestly, that might have been easier to process. I heard hushed voices, my husband's low rumble, Emily's higher pitch, muffled but urgent, coming from the guest room. My heart started pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. I took the stairs slowly. My legs felt like they were filled with wet cement. Every step sounded too loud in the quiet house. When I reached the landing, my hand hovered over the guest room doorknob for a second. Then I heard my name. Emily's voice, strained. Carter, what if Julia finds out? This is insane. Carter's voice, closer. She won't. She trusts us. The hallway swam. I braced myself on the wall. I didn't knock. I opened the door. Gut punch realization. For a second, my brain refused to make sense of what my eyes were seeing. It felt like I'd walked into a glitch in a simulation. Emily was on the bed, sitting up against the headboard, wearing nothing but one of Carter's t-shirts. Her hair was a mess, cheeks flushed, eyes wide. The sheets were twisted around her legs. Carter was standing by the dresser in his boxers, frozen mid-motion, like some actor who'd just been caught missing his cue. 3 people, 1 bed. My mind snapped into sharp, painful focus. Emily gasped, then grabbed at the sheet, hauling it up to her chest. Julia, oh my God, this isn't. Don't, I said. My voice didn't sound like mine. It was too flat, too steady. Please, don't say it's not what it looks like. Carter took a step toward me. Jules, listen, I held up a hand. No, you don't get to talk yet. Silence dropped over the room like a heavy curtain. For a moment, none of us moved. Then I said, very clearly, both of you, get dressed, get downstairs, now. Emily's lips trembled. Julia. Now, I repeated. Carter swallowed, nodded once, and reached for his jeans. I walked out, went downstairs, and stood in the middle of our living room, the same living room where we'd watched movies, opened Christmas presents, hosted Emily's tears after breakups. I stared at our wedding photo on the wall, Carter in his navy suit, me in white, Emily standing beside me as my maid of honor, smiling like she'd swallowed the sun. My hand itched to rip it down. They came downstairs together, but not touching. Emily couldn't look at me. Carter looked like he was heading into a board meeting he hadn't prepared for. I pointed at opposite ends of the room. You, I said to Carter, stand there. I pointed at the far wall, by the TV. Then to Emily. You, over there. They obeyed, like kids being lined up for timeout. Okay, I said, I'll make this simple. How long? Carter blinked. What? How long have you been sleeping with my sister? I asked. Don't waste my time with lies. I have heard enough lies in the last 10 minutes to last me a lifetime. He opened his mouth, closed it, looked at Emily. She sniffed. It wasn't like that. Stop, I snapped. The word cracked across the room. It was exactly like that. How long? Carter rubbed his face. A few months, he muttered. My stomach dropped. Define a few. 6, he said finally. 7. I don't know. Emily wiped at her eyes. Julia, please, you weren't supposed to find out like this. I laughed once, a disbelieving, sharp little sound. Oh? I asked. And how exactly was I supposed to find out? At your baby shower? At your wedding? Was I going to be the proud sister sitting in the front row clapping for the happy couple? Her mouth quivered. It wasn't planned. We didn't mean for it to happen. We just connected. That word. Connected. I saw red for a second. You connected your back to my bedsheets, I said, with my husband, in my house, while wearing his clothes. That kind of connection? Emily burst into tears. You don't understand, Julia. I've always been second to you. You had the good grades, the stable job, the husband, the respect. For once, I had something you didn't. He loved me. Carter flinched. In what universe? I asked, my voice shaking now. Does stabbing your sister in the back count as finally catching up? Carter tried to step in. Julia, I didn't. This wasn't about competing with you. Yes, it was, I cut him off. You chose her over me, repeatedly. Every time you texted her instead of me. Every time you lied about working late. Every time you let her wear your clothes and lie on your lap and call you in the middle of the night. He swallowed. You were always so busy with work, Jules. I felt neglected. Emily was there. She listened. I stared at him. You know what emotionally healthy adults do when they feel neglected? They use their words. They go to their spouse and say, "Hey, I feel lonely. Can we talk?" They don't start sleeping with their sister-in-law. He dropped his gaze. You both need to leave, I said finally. Pack a bag and get out of my house. Emily's eyes went round. You're kicking me out? I have nowhere to go. You have two parents with a perfectly good house, I said, and apparently a man who loves you. Go figure it out, but you will not be figuring it out here. Carter reached for me. Please don't do this. This is our home. No, I said. I thought it was ours. It isn't. You turned it into something else. You can go with her. That seems fair. You made your choice upstairs. I'm just confirming it. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I didn't beg. That seemed to unnerve them more than if I'd exploded. Because rage is temporary. But the quiet? The quiet means you're done. It took less than an hour for them to leave. Emily stuffed clothes into a duffel bag, sobbing. Carter grabbed a suitcase, shirts half folded, toiletries falling out of the side pocket. They kept trying to talk to me. Can't we just take a break and figure this out? It was a mistake, Jules. We can go to counseling. You've always forgiven Emily for everything. Why is this different? I didn't respond. I stood by the front door like a sentinel, watching them carry out their things, one by one. When they drove away together, my last image of them was Emily in the passenger seat of our car, wiping her tears with the sleeve of Carter's hoodie. Our car. Our hoodie. Our everything. My phone started blowing up within 24 hours. First, Emily. Please talk to me. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for it to happen this way. Mom and Dad are freaking out. Then my mother. What happened between you and your sister? She came home crying. You kicked Carter and Em out? We need to talk. Then my father, in his usual subtle way. I don't know what's going on, but you need to stop this dramatizing and fix your marriage. Fix your marriage? As if it were a leaky tap. As if the issue was my tone, not their behavior. I ignored them for a day. It didn't last. We ended up having a family meeting at my parents' house that weekend. My mom insisted, "We have to handle this like adults," she said. I almost laughed at that. Handle it like adults. We sat around the same dining table where we'd eaten birthday dinners and Christmas ham. Me on one side, Emily and Carter on the other. My parents at the ends, like judges. My mom started. Okay, she said, hands folded. Julia, honey, we're all very upset, but we need to remember that we're family. Whatever happened, we can sort it out if we calm down. I raised an eyebrow. Do you know what happened? Emily sniffed. I told them everything. Everything? I asked. Did everything include the part where this has been going on for 7 months in my house? My dad squirmed. Look, we're not here to point fingers. We are absolutely here to point fingers, I snapped. 2 people in this room blew up my marriage. I think some finger pointing is appropriate. My mom sighed. Julia, he made a mistake. She made a mistake. People make mistakes all the time. I stared at her. Sleeping with your sister's husband is not a mistake, like forgetting to pay a bill. It's a series of deliberate choices. Emily burst into tears again. I said I was sorry. What else do you want from me? I want you to understand what you did, I said. I want you to understand you didn't just have an affair. You set fire to the idea that I could ever trust you again. My mom leaned forward. Your sisters, she said, like that was a magic spell that made consequences disappear. You two only have each other. Men come and go, but family is forever. I laughed, a bitter, humorless sound. You know what's wild? You raised us saying, blood doesn't betray you. And then, when blood did, your first instinct was to tell me to get over it. My dad crossed his arms. So what? You want us to disown your sister? Kick her out? Leave her on the street? No, I said. I want you to stop acting like I'm the villain here for refusing to share my husband. Carter finally spoke. Jules, I'm not asking you to share. You already did, I said. My opinion just didn't matter until now. I got confused, he said. I didn't mean to hurt you. Emily and I got close. You were working late a lot, and You chose her, I said, over and over. If you were that unhappy, you could have left. You could have divorced me. Instead, you wanted both. He opened his mouth, closed it again. My mom looked between us. Can we just focus on moving forward, she said. Emily is staying with us for now. Carter's helped out with some of her expenses. We've talked, and considering everything, we think the best thing would be... She hesitated. I narrowed my eyes. Would be what? Would be for you, my mom said carefully, to consider reconciliation with both of them. The room went very quiet. Emily's eyes flicked up. My dad frowned. What, baby? I asked slowly. Emily's shoulders slumped. I was going to tell you, she whispered. I'm pregnant. For a second, I couldn't hear anything. The sound in the room went muffled, like someone had pressed a pillow over my head. My husband. My sister. A baby. I didn't faint. I didn't throw up. I didn't storm out. Instead, something in me hardened. Congratulations, I said, voice icy. You must be thrilled. Emily started sobbing again. Julia, please, we didn't mean to hurt you. It happened, okay? And I didn't want you to find out like this. How did she want me to find out? At the christening? When the baby started calling my husband Daddy? My father cleared his throat. Given the circumstances, he said, adopting his serious voice, it's important that we pull together. There's going to be a child involved now. We need to think about what's best for the family. There it was again, the family. Not what was best for me. Not what was fair. What was best for the image of us as one big, happy, extremely dysfunctional clan. What's best for the family, I said slowly, is that you all stop expecting me to martyr myself on the altar of your choices. My mother sighed dramatically. So what do you want to do, Julia? Throw away your marriage? Leave your husband? Pretend this never happened? What? I don't know yet, I said. But I know this. I'm not going to make any big decisions without talking to a lawyer. All their heads snapped toward me. A lawyer? My dad repeated, like I'd said I was joining a cult. Yes, I said. You know, those people whose entire job is to navigate situations exactly like this? Carter looked panicked. We don't need to involve lawyers. We can handle this. You involved my sister in our marriage, I said. We're past handling this on our own. The next day, I booked a consultation with a family law attorney. Her name was Monica, and she greeted me with a firm handshake and a stack of highlighters. I liked her immediately. I told her everything: the affair, the timeline, the baby, the pressure from my family. She listened, took notes, and when I finished, she leaned back in her chair and said, "First of all, I'm sorry. That's a special kind of betrayal." Then she got practical. "Here's the deal," she said. "You're in a no-fault divorce state, so technically you don't need to prove infidelity. But his cheating can still come into play, particularly if marital funds were used to support the affair. If he was paying for her expenses, trips, gifts, etc., with money from your joint accounts, we can argue for dissipation of assets." "Translation?" I asked. "Translation," she said. "We go for a bigger slice of the pie." I blinked. I hadn't even thought about the money. "Of course you haven't," she said gently. "You're busy thinking about the emotional wreckage. That's my job, to think about the practical fallout." She tapped her pen. "You mentioned there's a baby now, and they're assuming it's his?" "They told me it's his," I said. "They're already using that as leverage to get me to do the right thing." Monica nodded. "Okay, here's what I recommend. Don't confront them about finances yet. Don't talk numbers. Just tell him, calmly, that if he wants to be sure about custody and child support obligations, he should get a paternity test once the baby is born. Say you don't want him paying for a child that might not be his. Frame it like you're trying to protect him. If he agrees, we make sure those test results are shared with both of you." I frowned. "You think it might not be his?" Monica shrugged. "In my line of work, when someone cheats, they rarely cheat just once or with just one person. And a woman who sleeps with her brother-in-law behind her sister's back is probably not a paragon of sexual boundaries in other areas of her life either. It's worth checking." I hadn't considered that. A tiny, treacherous spark of hope lit in my chest. Not hope for Carter. Not hope for Emily. Hope for justice. In the months that followed, everything was surreal. Carter moved in with Emily to prove he was committed to being a father. My parents helped them pay for a small apartment 20 minutes away. My mom would call me and say things like, "You know, for all your anger, you have to admit Carter is trying. He's going to doctor's appointments with her. He's being responsible." Responsible. For the child he conceived while cheating on his wife with her sister. Sure. I started individual therapy. I worked, I slept, I ate. Sort of. My appetite existed mostly for coffee and toast. My friends, when I finally told them, were furious on my behalf. One night, my best friend Tasha said, "If I wrote this in a novel, people would say it's unrealistic." "I feel like I'm living someone else's plotline," I replied. "I watch myself in third person sometimes and think, there's no way she's going to accept this. And then my parents look me in the eyes and ask why I'm being so stubborn." My parents invited me to the baby shower. Emily texted me a pastel pink invitation graphic with fake gold glitter that said, "A little princess is on her way." Underneath, she wrote, "I really hope you'll come. It would mean the world to me if you could put the past behind us before she gets here. I want my daughter to have her aunt in her life." I stared at the message for a long time. Then I responded, "I will not be celebrating the child my husband conceived while cheating on me with my sister. I wish your daughter a good life, but I won't be playing pretend." She replied, "Wow, I thought you were better than this." A few minutes later, my mom called. "You could have just said you were busy," she said, angry. "There was no need to be cruel." So, me saying I don't want to attend the baby shower of my cheating ex and my traitor sister is cruel, I said. But them having an affair is what? A minor slip up? You're being dramatic, my mom snapped. One day, you'll regret how you're reacting. That was the moment it really hit me. My parents were not neutral in this. They had chosen a side, and it wasn't mine. I hung up, sat on my kitchen floor, and cried until my eyes swelled shut. Not just for the marriage I'd lost, or the sister I no longer recognized, but for the parents I finally saw clearly. The baby was born in late spring. I found out via a photo my mom sent to the family group chat. Emily in a hospital bed, sweaty but glowing. A tiny pink burrito in her arms. Carter in the background, looking exhausted and proud. The caption, "Welcome, baby Lila. Our family is growing. God is good." I stared at the picture, at the baby's tiny, scrunched up face. Then I texted Carter individually. "Congratulations. Make sure you get a paternity test for Lila so you have everything in place legally. Would hate for you to be held financially responsible if, God forbid, something wasn't as expected." He replied almost immediately. "Why would you say that?" "Because I'm trying to look out for your best interests," I wrote. "Get the test. It's standard. Any good lawyer would tell you the same." He left the conversation on read for an hour. Then he wrote, "Fine, I'll talk to a lawyer." What I didn't tell him was that Monica already had everything set up. She contacted his new attorney, framed it as a mutual desire to protect all parties. Emily was offended. "Do you not trust me?" she cried, according to what my mother relayed. "How can you ask me to prove something like that?" But the test happened. Once the forms were signed, there was nothing to do but wait. Those few weeks were some of the longest of my life. I wasn't even directly involved, technically, but emotionally, I was more invested in that result than I'd been in any exam I'd ever taken. Because one piece of paper had the power to confirm something huge. Whether I was crazy, or whether my instincts about Emily's pattern of behavior were right. The day the results came in, Monica called me. "Do you want the short version or the long version?" she asked. "Short," I said, clutching my phone hard enough to hurt. 0% probability of paternity, she said. Carter is not the father. For a second, I thought I'd misheard. "Not," I repeated. "Not," she confirmed. "Lila is not his biological child. From what his lawyer told me, Emily is now admitting she slept with her ex around the same time, but she was sure it was Carter's." I laughed. It came out half hysterical. Of course she was. My heart did something strange then. It didn't heal. It didn't magically forgive, but it rebalanced. Carter had still cheated. Emily had still betrayed me. Nothing about what they did changed. But some deep, cynical part of me that had always suspected Emily thrived on chaos felt weirdly validated. They blew up my life for a baby that wasn't even theirs together. "So what now?" I asked Monica. "Now," she said, "we use this moment of chaos to your advantage. Carter is humiliated and destabilized. That means he'll be more open to a settlement to get out from all of this." We filed for divorce formally. The affair, the pregnancy, the paternity test, it all painted a very clear picture. A judge might not punish people for cheating, but they do tend to side with the spouse who didn't detonate the marriage when it comes to things like asset division. We had records of money Carter had transferred to Emily while still married to me, covering her rent, buying her things, joint account withdrawals. "Dissipation of marital assets," Monica said. "We make the case that he spent your shared money on his affair partner." In the end, we settled out of court. I kept the house. I got a fair chunk of our savings. He took on more of the debt. There was no alimony because we made similar incomes, but the division was heavily in my favor. Carter agreed to it without much fight. I think the embarrassment had knocked the fight out of him. I just want this over, he said when we met in a conference room to sign the final paperwork. His eyes were bloodshot. He'd lost weight. His shoulders sagged. Me too, I said, and I meant it. As he signed the last document, he looked up at me. I made a mistake, he said. If I could take it back, I would. No, I said softly. If you could take it back, you'd take back being caught, not doing it. You enjoyed it when it was all secret and exciting. You just hate the consequences. He didn't argue. He just finished signing and left. That was the last time I saw him in person. Emily, on the other hand, still pops up occasionally, like a bad ad that the algorithm refuses to stop showing you. She called me about 6 months after the divorce was final. Hey, she said, voice tentative. How are you? I almost hung up. Instead, I said, What do you want, Emily? She sighed. You always think I want something. Do you? I asked. There was a long pause. I need a favor, she said at last. Of course she did. She launched into a story about how hard it had been as a single mom, how her ex, Lila's actual father, was unreliable, how our parents were getting old and didn't have the energy to help as much as she needed. I was thinking, she said, maybe you could watch Leela on weekends sometimes, and maybe help out a little bit with daycare. You're doing well now, right? There it was again. That assumption that my life, my heart, and now my wallet were community property. I took a deep breath. No, I said. She went quiet. No to what? Babysitting or? No to all of it, I said. No to stepping in to fix the consequences of your choices. No to slotting myself back into a support role in your life. No to pretending we're fine just because time has passed. Her voice sharpened. So you're punishing me forever? I'm protecting myself forever, I replied. Those are different things. You used to say we only had each other, she said. That sisters were everything. I used to believe a lot of things before you proved me wrong, I said. I wish you well. I hope Lila has a good life. But I am not your babysitter. I am not your backup wallet. And I am not your safety net. She started to cry. You're being heartless. Maybe I was. Or maybe, for the first time in my life, I was letting her feel the actual weight of her actions instead of cushioning it for her. We ended the call without resolution. I blocked her number for a while after that, not out of rage, out of necessity. Life after betrayal isn't glamorous. There's no montage of me getting a makeover, changing my hair, hitting the gym, and emerging as some unstoppable force. It's slower than that. Smaller than that. It's learning to enjoy sitting on your couch alone without feeling lonely. It's cooking for one and realizing you can season things exactly how you like them. It's sleeping in a bed that feels too big at first, then realizing you can starfish across it without anyone stealing your pillow. It's laughing, really laughing, at a meme your friend sends you, and suddenly noticing it's the first time your laugh hasn't felt forced in months. 2 years after the divorce, I met someone new. His name is Ryan. We met at a mutual friend's game night. He spilled salsa on his shirt and made a joke about sacrificing himself to protect the board games. It wasn't love at first sight. It was comfort at first sight. He didn't overwhelm me. He didn't sweep me off my feet. He just showed up, consistently, texted when he said he would, called when he said he would, took an interest in my job, my hobbies, my weird fixation on crime documentaries. He learned my coffee order. He met my friends and asked them questions, actually seeming to care about their answers. When I told him about my past, the affair, the baby, the paternity test, he didn't look at me with pity or scorn. He just said, "That must have hurt like hell. I'm glad you walked away." We've been together long enough now that my parents have started circling around him like hopeful vultures, trying to reposition themselves. They compliment him excessively. They invite us to dinner and make comments like, "We're so glad you finally found a good man, Julia." I keep my boundaries. We leave when they start in with the guilt about how hard it's been on Emily. I don't let them rewrite history in front of me. Ryan doesn't speak for me. He doesn't try to play the hero, but he squeezes my hand under the table when my mother says something manipulative, and that squeeze says, "I see what she's doing. I know you're not crazy. I'm here." Trust feels different the second time around. He doesn't just say he loves me. He behaves like he does. And I've learned that's the only kind of love that means anything. Here's what I've learned from all of this. Family is not automatically a safe place. Blood is thicker than water is often used to guilt people into tolerating behavior they would never accept from anyone else. Someone sharing your DNA doesn't give them the right to shatter your life and then act offended when you sweep up your own broken pieces instead of theirs. Love isn't proven by how much you endure. It's proven by how well you are treated. If someone tells you that being a good daughter, a good wife, a good sister means tolerating disrespect, betrayal, or emotional blackmail, they don't want you to be good. They want you to be obedient. I used to think setting boundaries was selfish. Now I know boundaries are the only reason I'm standing here telling this story instead of still living inside it. I don't wish Emily evil. I don't wish Carter suffering. But I also don't wish myself back into their orbit. If your love for me can only exist when I am convenient, naive, and willing to accept crumbs, then your love is not welcome. My name is Julia, and this was the last straw. If you enjoyed this story, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe.